Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I will show you how to run Spearman Rank Order Correlation in SPSS. But before I take you through how to do this particular analysis in SPSS, I want to expose you to the backgrounds, what Spearman Rank is, the assumptions, and how to interpret the results. Spearman is a non-parametric measure of the strength and direction of association between two ranked variables. If you have watched our videos on Pearson correlation, I made it clear there that Pearson is only used for continuous variable and there are assumptions that must be met before you can make use of Pearson correlation. The Pearson correlation is a parametric test. If you notice that your data fails any of the assumptions, you can't continue to use it. The one that you can use is Spearman Rank correlation because it's a non-parametric test. It doesn't based on the assumption that the data must be normally distributed. If your data is not normally distributed, you can make use of Spearman Rank. And also, if your data are not continuous variable, you can make use of Spearman Rank. Spearman Rank can be used for continuous variables. That is in a situation whereby one or two of the assumptions are not met. You can make use of it. Also, if your data are categorical variable, ordinal variables, you can use Spearman Rank. So Spearman assess how well the relationship between two variables can be without assuming a linear or normally distributed data. This one, just like Pearson, is look at the relationship between income and weight, art studies and exam scores, and so on and so forth. Two common variables that you hypothetically you expect the relationship to exist. Then you can make use of the Spearman Rank Order Correlation to check whether the relationship exists, whether it's a positive or negative relationship, or whether the relationship is strong, weak, or moderate. When to use Spearman correlation? First is when your data is not linear, you can use Spearman. Also, when you are dealing with categorical variables, ordered variables, ordinals, you can make use of Spearman Rank. Also, you can use Spearman Rank when you are dealing with interval or ratio, that is continuous data, particularly when that particular data do not meet the parametric assumptions. That, for instance, the linearity assumption, the non-normality assumption, the homoscedasticity assumptions. So when your data fails those assumptions, when your continuous data fails those assumptions, you can also make use of Spearman. Now let us look at the assumptions of Spearman Rank Order Correlation. Please take note that the assumptions of Spearman Rank are non-assumptions in Spearman Rank are the assumptions of Pearson. For instance, Pearson says that the variable should be continuous, should be numeric. Spearman Rank is saying that okay, you can make use of ordinal, you can use rank order variables. So the variable should be measured on at least an ordinal scale. So it could be ratio as well, it could be interval, but you can also make use of it when you are dealing with ordinal variables. The next thing is that you can make use of interval, which I've explained, particularly when it doesn't meet the assumption of Pearson correlation. Another important one is monotonic relationship. The two variables should exhibit a monotonic relationship. You know, when I was taking you through the Pearson correlation, running Pearson correlation in SPSS, the first assumptions I mentioned is linearity. This particular test too, or approach, assumes linearity but is a very weak assumption. As one variable increase, the other consistently increase or decrease, but not necessarily at a constant rate. For Pearson, it must be at a constant rate, but here it may not be at a constant rate. That's why I said it's a weak linear assumption. Independence of observation. Each pair of observations should be independent of every other pair. You understand what it means? The categories should not be related. The next one is that there is no need for normal distribution. You don't even need to check for normality when you want to use Spearman. You only need to check for it when you want to use Pearson. So if you want to use Spearman, the most important thing is the monotonic relationship. I want to believe that when you are designing your questionnaire, you will certainly ensure that the pairs of observations are independent. So there is no need for normality check. But if you don't know how to check for normality in SPSS, we have done a video on it and it has been uploaded on this channel. Just check the SPSS playlist, you will see it there. Next is no significant outlier. This one, of course, is optional, but I will advise that you should check for these particular issues before proceeding proceeding with your analysis. The two variables should exhibit a monotonic relationship as one increase the other one. Okay, this is just a repetition, but what this one means is that there must, of course, there may be outliers, but the outlier must not be significant. It must not be significant. There must not be so many outliers. Okay, there is a mix-up somewhere. Independence of observation. This is the definition of that particular one. No significant outlier. While Spearman is more robust to outliers than Pearson, extreme outliers can still distort the rank and impact the results. It can also affect the results. So you should check and ensure that outlier is not significant. You don't have so many outliers. You have just one or two in 200 observation. I don't think it will affect your results, but just make sure that you have a very minimum outliers when you are using Spearman. Now the next thing is how to interpret the results of Spearman correlation. The interpretation is not different from that of Pearson correlation. Spearman also looks out for the strength as well as the direction. So the p-value, which is often 0.05, once it is less than that, it will indicate that it is significant. The only difference between Spearman and Pearson is that Pearson is a parametric test. All the assumptions must be satisfied, but for Spearman it is a non-parametric test. It doesn't really require all the assumptions to be satisfied. If your data is not normally distributed or there is issue with equivariance, you can make use of Spearman correlation. So I think with that we are through with the background. Now let me show you how to do this particular test in SPSS. Take notes that I said you can make use of both ordinal and continuous variables. So you can check between let's say gender here. Okay, this gender is continuous. This exercise. Okay, you can check between exercise and weight. You can just pick any at random. Everything here is numeric, so there is no issue. But you cannot use string. This sex is string, you can see, but this one is numeric. The gender here, where is gender? This gender here is numeric. So now let's look at for the relationship between, let's just say, exercise and okay, employment status and job categories. Let's just pick any two variables, but when you are doing yours, just make sure you focus on the research questions and you test the hypothesis using the variables of interest. Of course, we can also check between weight and income. Let's assume that these two variables are not normally distributed, so we can make use of Spearman Rank. So to do that, we go to analyze, then from analyze we pick correlates, then we select bivariate. Here you look out for the two variables, weight, you move it in. The second one, which is income, you move it in. Now instead of Pearson, you check Spearman. You uncheck Pearson and you now check Spearman. So next is okay. Now we have our results. So now we have the result of the Spearman Rank Order Correlation. You can see it is a non-parametric correlation. Here we assume that these two variables are not normally distributed. That's why we use it. And now we need to look at the coefficients. This is the correlation coefficients. The number of observation 200. Everything is perfect. The significance, it shows that it is not significant. And since it is not significant, there is no need to interpret the results. But for the sake of this video, let me interpret the strength as well as the relationship, the direction of the relationship. Spearman also shows that the relationship between income and weight is negative. You can see that it is indicated by this negative sign. It's negative. Also, this magnitude tells us the strength of the relationship. And from here, we can say this is around 0.03. Let's say 0.04. You understand? 4%. So it's still very weak. So you can just say that the relationship between income and weight is negative and very weak. That's just the interpretation. Then you cannot justify. You can justify why it is negative, why it is positive. If you review one or two papers, you will certainly see reason why the relationship between your variable of interest may be negative or may be positive. So with this, we have come to the end of this particular video tutorial. Please, if you are interested in how to run Pearson correlation in SPSS, you can also check our channel, the SPSS playlist. You will see a video there. We have uploaded it. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share our video with your friends, and also you can discuss our channel in your class so that other students can be part or can benefit from the resources we are putting out. Thank you.